All right, hey guys, what's up? Scott here. And today's tutorial is about field mapping. And what is field mapping? Field mapping is the ability for you to take a variable that you have stored in your system, and when you're APIing that to a client, change the variable. So, for example, if you have a client that you are APIing leads to, and they require that you pass them gender. Well, in ListFlex, gender is either F or it's M. So field mapping gives you the ability to change that to whatever your client demands. So if your client says, I only will accept it as the entire word female or the entire word male, you can now map that so that it only delivers exactly what they want. So what does that look like in a real life situation? All right, we'll go to clients. And Alice. APIs. All right, so Alice is the client. We're going to view her APIs. I have a kind of a sample down here. Click on edit. I've named it. I was helping a customer earlier with Email Octopus, and that's kind of the sample I'm using here. The endpoint is in there, and in that case, they require JSON. The rest of the items that you need to review when you set up an API are all straightforward. But right here's a button called Show Advanced Options, and when you click on that, the headers and field mapping are down here. Headers for JSON is a requirement in this case. For field mapping, this is where it's kind of cool, and you have a little bit of flexibility. In this specific case, we're taking gender, and it's stored as male, or excuse me, M or F. And what our system's going to do is it's going to look for this term, gender, up here in the API, and it's right here. And when it passes it to a client, it's going to translate it to the variable or the term that they require. There's also a little handy dandy little section over here that gives you other examples that that you can use. There's different versions, maybe on forms for custom fields, answers, but your client wants a specific term that represents it. No problem, you can do that. So that's there for your help as well. And it works for any variable. I mean, custom fields are the most common because there's multiple different answers provided, typically on forms. Maybe you have a solar ad and the term for you is, for sunlight is full, but your client requires full sunlight to be fuller or total or whatever. Any term that they tell you, you can use mapping to do that. There's another little handy dandy tool called JSONEditorOnline.org. I just kind of copied and pasted the sample that we're looking at right here. And this tool is kind of cool if you're not technical, and it'll help you see if there's any errors or issues with what you're creating. Again, I realize this is a little bit more technical, but this is very helpful if you're mapping a bunch of values or terms to something different other than what you've collected. And the other question that I get on field mapping is, does it only work for JSON or will it work for, a standard API? And what I mean by that is, imagine the API was just that right there. Get rid of that space. Kind of just your regular variables. And the answer is yes, it would still work if this was, the correct post variables. This will still look for the value, and it will translate it to your client, the term, to anything you want. So what I'll do is I'll take this right here. I'll copy and paste it into the notes below so that you can use it as a reference, and obviously add other values and other terms to that if you want to. But that's field mapping. Anytime your client says, hey, I actually need you to send it this way, no problem. It's very simple. You can cut and paste, swap out these variables, probably without a tech guy, unless there's like a bazillion terms, and you can always send your client exactly the term that they're going to accept, so that there's no issues with not being able to deliver leads. So that is field mapping. If you have any questions, just reach out to our team and we'll get you taken care of. Thanks.